Aloha, I'm Mike Foley, and I've been a journalist in Hawaii for over 30 years. Part of our story begins here in the town of Laie, on Oahu, an island of Hawaii surrounded by water. Another part has its beginnings far away, far from the sea. Urumqi, China, is the most remote city from any sea in the world. It is fascinating to me how many beginnings separated by distance and time eventually come together as one story. In Urumqi, there was a little Uyghur girl who loved to dance.
As a little girl of just 5 or 6, my dream was to become a beautiful dancer like my mother. When I was in the 3rd grade, military officers, men and women, came into our classroom during reading. They looked pretty serious, but also elegant. And I noticed that they walked and dressed like my mother. They did not say one word. They just walked through the quiet classroom and stared at us one by one. When they came to me, I did not know where to look. My heart pounded really fast, and I felt very nervous and a little excited. And they actually took out a tape measure and measured my legs, upper body, and arms. I was only 10. What did the measurements have to do with being a dancer? They did not ask me to do any dancing. It was all very strange. After class, I learned that the officers were from the People's Liberation Army Art University in Beijing and had come to select students for their dance program. The teacher advised us to tell our parents if we wanted to try out for the audition. I'm not sure if I ran or flew home that day.
Uyghurs are one of over 50 ethnic minorities living in China. They are a Turkic people, and their language is an older form of modern Turkish.
I love music and dance. I became a dancer for the People's Liberation Art Troupe in Urumqi when I was 15. During one performance, I met up Liz, who was in a different PLA music group. Our love for dance and music brought us together. Later, I became a TV director. TV was a new thing in Urumqi. I dreamed that I could make a difference by developing Waywood TV programs and films. For 20 years, it was my great pleasure to be a TV director.
The culture stresses as well the importance of family, music, and dance.
I inherited my love for music from my family. It is a part of my genetic code, a gift from my ancestors. During my childhood, when my parents and I were singing, we were very happy. Love of music is a deep part of my ethnic heritage. Music holds the Waywood people together.
My mom was on a business trip. My dad already knew about the auditions, but had not said anything to me. My tears and kisses softened his heart, and he took me to the auditions.
When Nina was chosen, I was on a business trip. I said, "Oh no," and rejected the idea as preposterous. She was simply much too young. Beijing was too far away, and I knew to be a professional dancer is very hard work. There would be pains and aches.
10 yaş vaqtida o'sha harbiy san'at maktabiga
As parents, it was a very hard decision for us to make. How could we survive without our precious daughter? We worried about her welfare and being unable to be there for her, as Beijing is very far away. On the other hand, we wanted her to be happy and fulfill all her dreams.
I want to give my daughter free agency to choose, even though it's very hard for me. I missed her and I cried.
The PLA Art University in Beijing is one of the best schools in the country, and the PLA commands immediate respect throughout China. Any child chosen would bring much honor to their family, and the government would provide approximately 7 years of professional dance training, which in turn would guarantee a bright future as a dance star.
What more could a little girl ask? I felt my greatest dream had come true. I felt that I was the right person, in the right place, at the right time.
10 Uyghur girls and boys and 10 Chinese girls and boys were chosen from Xinjiang to go to Beijing. This class of 20 would be trained specifically for the Urumqi PLA art troupe. Each year, the PLA chose and trained a dance group for a specific location.
Our lives were pretty simple. We did not need to buy any food, clothes, or things for our rooms. We did need to do our own laundry. We learned to take care of ourselves. I had to be strong. If you ask me whether or not I had a mother or father, the answer is no, not while I was in Beijing. And that was the hardest part for me. We lived in the dorms and focused on learning the skills we would need to become professional dancers. At least 8 hours a day, and sometimes 12 or 16. In this environment, the only way to feel special was to be good. One girl was sent home, which made the rest of us work harder.
The PLA Art University has many departments including music, drama, and film. The dance department was the only one that enrolled children. All the other students had graduated from high school.
The school was not really prepared to provide us with a standard education. We did not learn English at all. We did not learn math, science, or geography. After dinner, we practiced by ourselves. Once a week, we had classes such as basic piano and Chinese writing. Sometimes, I would laugh at myself for thinking that dance would be easy. It was not. One time, I wrote to my parents with an ink pen, letting them know I was expected to do my own laundry and how I wish my mom could teach me what to do. I wrote to tell them how I wish I had wings so I could fly to see them every weekend. I did not realize that my tears were dripping down on the ladder. And soon, the ink kind of ran everywhere. I sent the letter anyway. A few days later, my mom showed up at my door. I was so surprised and happy. Later, I learned my mom showed my letter to her boss and the request to visit me as soon as possible. Her boss saw how the ink had run everywhere and told her she better get going. We ate in the school cafeteria, but if I didn't like what was served, I would buy candy at the store across the street. I must have been one of the few 10-year-olds that regularly ate candy meals. How I loved naan, the traditional Uyghur bread, and kebab, the roasted meat my parents sent from home.
Even at 10 years old, the dance students were officers in the PLA and outranked all enlisted men.
I remember walking down a Beijing street, eating my lollipop. and not realizing that I was wearing an official PLA officer's uniform. I ran into two military policemen on the street. They started lecturing me that even though my toy uniform fit me quite nicely, I should not be wearing a fake. I was not sure what to say, so I pulled out my PLA officer's ID card. They were very confused, with the shock still on their faces. They snapped to attention and saluted me. It was my turn to be shocked and scared. Without a word, I grabbed my ID card and just ran away.
Nina worked hard and became a famous Uyghur dancer known as Butterfly. After graduation, Nina's entire class returned to Urumqi. The troupe danced mostly for military audiences and government officials. The largest tourist attraction company in China was the Shenzhen Overseas Chinatown. They had developed a theme park in China called Windows of the World across the border from Hong Kong. Now they were looking for a solo Uyghur dancer to showcase in their newest venture, a $50 million sister park located in Florida near the Epcot Center called Splendid China. Nina was still in the Army, but OCT offered her a month's vacation at the Windows Park in southern China to see how she liked the organization.
I actually went to Shenzhen intending to bring Nina home. We wanted her to stay close to the family. Also, the PLA dance company in Urumqi was threatening to court-martial her and demanded she be returned to them immediately. President and founder of the Overseas Chinatown in Shenzhen, Mr. Ma Jiming, China's equivalent of Walt Disney, wrote a promise letter right then and signed it in front of all the other leaders. It said the OCT would guarantee a job to Nina and be responsible for her for the rest of her life. I still have that letter.
Nina's father also met with the PLA general in charge of Xinjiang province. Abliz admitted to making a great mistake and pleaded for help for his daughter. He asked that his 30-year service record for the PLA and his wife's 17 be taken into consideration. The general was an old friend, and a few weeks later, Nina's record was cleared. She didn't receive benefits of an honorable discharge, but she did not get into deeper trouble either. Coming to the United States, Nina felt she was in a very strange and different world. The first thing Nina did was write down the phone number of her leader and the hotel address in English. She hung it around her neck so she wouldn't get lost.
In Florida, I performed 6 days a week, 3 times a day. And after each performance, people would ask me questions. My first day at work, I just said no to the questions, which made them think I spoke English. So I said yak in Uyghur, which just means no. I guess it sounds like yuck. That caused some confusion. So that night, I asked our translator to write down some information. The next time someone asked a question, I just smiled and I put the paper in front of my face. I decided right there that if I wanted to understand what was going on around me or share my story with the people outside of China, I must go to school and learn more than just dance. Sometimes, talking with my Chinese friends about our hopes and dreams, I would tell them that I wanted to be with my family forever. People would try to explain to me that I was dreaming and there was no such a thing as a true love or family could be together forever. When I heard that, tears would run down my face.
Nina missed her family and felt alone. She would console herself by looking at the moon and feeling that she was at least sharing that with them. Nina danced at Splendid China in Florida for a year. After Florida, the troupe toured many U.S. and Canadian cities as part of a Sino-U.S. cultural exchange program. BYU Hawaii was added to the schedule because of the close ties the Polynesian Cultural Center had with Windows of the World.
In 1980, a group of Chinese generals had actually made a visit to SINPAC. And during one of their free days that they had an opportunity, they requested whether they could visit and had a pamphlet from the Polynesian Cultural Center.
The Chinese liked how the PCC showcased the different cultures. They also liked the code of living at BYU Hawaii.
So the China Military Commission had arrived at the Polynesian Cultural Center and essentially had indicated to them they would like to send some of their brightest and young people here to study at BYU Hawaii, as well as to be a part of our management team.
I'm studying at BYUH for 10 months, just studying my management program in the school. I felt kindness and love of the people while at BYUH. So I love the school, and I will remember my every minute in the school.
Before going to Laie, the dancers were told to wear modest clothing and that no drinking or smoking were allowed on campus. After just spending a week in New York City, Nina's comment was, there must not be any American students on that campus.
I found out Miss Ma Zhiming had visited PCC and BYU many times and said that the culture theme park idea for Windows of the World came from PCC. His daughter even graduated from BYU Hawaii. I did not know anything about LDS Church or its standards. At the time, however, I just had a feeling of safety, security, and peace that I had not felt in any other places on our tour. The spirit of Hawaii reminded me of my family. BYU Hawaii feels like home.
On her return to China, Nina danced at Windows of the World and worked as assistant dance director.
In Shenzhen, China, life was exciting and colorful, but I missed something very important, the happiness of my family. I also felt like I was missing someone I could be with forever. From a work and career standpoint, I could not ask for more. On the other hand, when I was not working, I felt sad and lonely.
During this time, BYU Hawaii Showcase came to perform at Windows on the World. Nina was surrounded by warm and caring people who loved dance and music. They reminded Nina of her own family. When she heard that these girls would be together with their families forever, Nina's heart was filled with light, hope, and joy. In just a few days, these young girls also decided that they could be friends forever. Nina's new friends encouraged her to further her education at BYU Hawaii. Nina kept in touch with the girls and with Uncle John after they left. 6 years after her first visit, Nina was back at BYU Hawaii, this time as a student and as a teacher of modern dance.
So Nina came to BYU Hawaii to study and to learn, and actually to teach us too, because she was wonderful. In terms of a performer, she was a beautiful performer, and she was eager to learn what she could, especially English. She was very eloquent in speaking.
Although far from Urumqi, I had found a new home. One of the girls in Showcase, Emily Shangwei, was the daughter of Eric Shangwei, then the president of BYU Hawaii. The Shangweis made me part of their family, as did several other families. When I faced a challenge in my life, they knelt down and prayed with me. When I was sick, they blessed me. When I needed help of any kind, they served me. I felt that I didn't have to be the smartest, the best, or meet some criteria to be loved. I was loved because I am a child of Heavenly Father.
Shortly after Nina arrived at BYUH, she met Elder Ballard, who told her Heavenly Father has a special plan for her. He said, "You are the first blonde Chinese girl I ever met, and I know you will teach your people the truth someday."
I understood the part about Heavenly Father loving me, but the part about teaching the gospel to my people was very confusing. My people are Muslims, and they would be very upset if I teach them another religion. Elder Ballard laughed and said, "Do not worry, miracles come in their own time." The students on the campus were my brothers and sisters. Even though I told them I could not be baptized, at least not in this life. I liked LDS Church, but I never heard of Uyghurs changing their religion. Even if I wanted to become a Mormon, I would not join the church because I love my parents too much. I could not bring shame or pain to them. I did not want people laughing at them behind their backs or insult them to their faces. Nevertheless, people on campus never stopped pouring their unconditional love on me. During my third year at BYU Hawaii, on New Year's Day, 2003, I went to a Chinese restaurant with my friend. We were speaking Chinese and tried to remember the name of some street in Shenzhen, China. When all of a sudden this man was sitting at the next table, turned his head, and with a perfect Chinese told me the name of the street.
When I was about 11 years old, I went to my dad's office with him one Saturday morning. As we were driving into downtown Houston, we passed by a large craft fair that was being held in Tranquility Park. My father gave me $10 and told me to be careful. I wandered through the fair, looking at the pretty crafts for sale. A puzzle caught my eye. It was a wooden heart. I had a brilliant thought. I could buy this heart and save it until I found the perfect woman who I would love until the end of time. I kept the heart with me through high school, college in Vermont, and more than a dozen moves. When I moved to Hong Kong after college, the heart went with me. And so I worked in China. Life was interesting. China was still growing. My job at the time looked great on paper. Although there was plenty of engaging work to keep me occupied, I could feel that my life was not complete. After 10 years invested in China, a still small voice in my head began to persistently whisper, "It is time to go." The voice whispered back, "Hawaii."
Soon, I found out this man used to live in the same cities in China where I lived, even during the same years that I lived there.
Finally, after 20 years of trials and tribulations since the purchase of the heart, I was sitting in this Chinese restaurant on Kapiolani Boulevard in Honolulu.
Another miracle happened when my parents, who are Muslim, were able to come to my graduation, and the guest who was the speaker, our late prophet Gordon B. Hinckley. While my parents did not understand English well, they could feel his spirit, and they had tears in their eyes. They told me, "This is a good church." Later, when missionaries started coming to our home, my mom liked their purity and cooked food for them, while they taught us.
People at BYUH did not teach me through lessons. They brought about a deep spiritual change in me through their example of pure, unconditional love toward each other. I listened to the little voice when it whispered to me that I should ask Nina to marry me. I asked her, and after a couple minutes of deliberation, she said yes. And that's when I took out my heart, this heart, and told her its story and gave it to her.
Nina and John were married in 2004 in the Shumway's backyard. A few months later, they were married again in Urumqi.
Dad Shumway baptized us both on July 10, 2005, the day of our first wedding anniversary. And my mom, who happened to be here in Hawaii, came to our baptism with support and love.
And a year after that, they were married in the Laie, Hawaii temple.
Now, if I get mad at John, he shows me our wedding pictures and reminds me how many times I married him. John loves me completely. He loves me forever. He made me the happiest wife, and together we have two precious children we love with all our hearts.
When the concert choir went to China and Mongolia in 2007, Nina was asked to be one of the MCs. BYU Hawaii student Wei Minja, well known in China for a starring role in Not One Less, was the other MC.
Our first stop on our tour to China was a stop in Urumqi. And it was like being heroes coming home to the welcoming arms of a family. And it wasn't like a foreign group of kids coming to visit someplace. It really was a feeling of family coming together.
I always dreamed that someday my new Laie family would be able to go to my hometown and meet my other families. What a miracle! I can feel not only two families become one, but also how people from different countries and cultures can bridge their differences and find the love for one another.
I like to think that Uyghur people are a loving, hopeful, optimistic, brave, hardworking, enduring, patient, and courageous people. To me, Nina has all these good qualities in her. My greatest happiness is to see my daughter have her own happy family. She has a loving husband and two sweet children. My greatest wish for the future is that they can continue this happiness forever.
I am just amazed at the perfection of our Heavenly Father's plan for mankind, and how each one of us has a role to play in His plan. 100 Mormons went to my hometown, and the words of Elder Ballard came true, and I preached to my people. To me, that is a miracle.